أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله تعالى وسلم على رسوله سيدنا محمد سيدنا وسندنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا ومولانا صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذرياته وأهل بيته ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. Alhamdulillah, mashallah, today was the Mubarak day of Jumu'ah, and some drama happened at the Masjid I'm a Khatib at. I'm a regular Khatib at one of the local Masajid, mashallah. Just kind of like a volunteer over there. I was requested to give some khutbahs slightly less than 2 years ago in the month of Ramadan, and the Masjid committee had requested me to stay on giving khutbah there regularly since then, and I agreed with the condition that there's no contract or agreement between us. And having experienced a lot of drama and trauma, being imam in Masjid, I thought, okay, we'll do this as a volunteer. It's not so far from my domicile, and just thought it would be like a good khidmah because I have to read Jumu'ah anyway. But something today happened. It just kind of, some of these things, they renew the bother. And I know that the work is going to be difficult. Work is going to be difficult no matter what you do. If you work at Starbucks, you work in a corporation, you're a king or you're the street sweeper, someone has some issue that they have to deal with, one or the other. But the reason I'm sharing this is that, at some point or another, we have to come together and solve problems together because one person can't do everything. So think about this as me extending my arm out and asking people, hey, if you think this is reasonable and you would like to help, this is one of many ways that we can help each other out. Today was a vacation Friday, so there was a large number of kids at the khutbah. There was an uncharacteristically large number of school kids, especially those kids who they probably don't attend Jumu'ah all that regularly, and many of them probably don't get any sort of regular higher level ta'aleem or teaching with regards to Islam. And when I say high level, I mean that's really being generous. So I thought there was a hadith that was very pertinent to things going on in the world nowadays. That is a very simple hadith to understand, but it kind of hits at the core of our aqid and kind of puts a lot of things into perspective. So to tell you about the hadith, and the reason I picked it for this day, at the end of it there's a note. وقالوا أبو عبد الله أي الإمام ابن ماجه سمعت أبا الحسن الطنافسي يقول سمعت عبد الرحمن المحاربي يقول ينبغي أن يدفع هذا الحديث إلى المؤدب حتى يعلمه الصبيان في الكتاب. رواه ابن ماجه وإسناده قوي واللفظ له وساق أبو داود سنده وهو سند صحيح إلى أبي أمامة عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ثم قال نحوه وذكر الصلوات مثل معناه يعني نحو حديث النواس بن سمعان وصححه ابن خزيمة ورواه الحاكم في المستدرك وقال صحيح على شرط مسلم وأقره الذهبي وأورد الحافظ ابن حجر جملا منه في فتح الباري مستشهدا بها فهو عنده حديث صحيح وحسن. So Abu Abdullah, who is Imam Ibn Majah, Sahib Sahih, whose narration of this hadith I was reading, he said, I heard Abu Hassan al-Tanafisi, one of the great father of hadith, say that I heard Abdul Rahman al-Muharibi, who again likewise is a great scholar, who said regarding this hadith that we read, or we at least attempted to read today in the bayan before the khutbah, that this hadith is something that the school teacher should teach the kids, the small children in the Quran schools, and it's something that should be given out by all of the school teachers. They should be instructed that this hadith should be read to all of the kids in the Quran schools. The Kuttab system is the kind of the basic unit of education that was established by the Aslaf, by Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He was the first one who appointed a Quran teacher for the kids of Medina, and he said that the bright kids should be taught Quran by talqeen, like you should verbally teach it to them, and they should verbally repeat it and memorize it. And then the kids who are not so bright, they should be taught through writing and reading. And they also were taught other things, adab, etc. And the ilm of Islam, that's how it was transmitted to the children. Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to take great care in supervising the Kuttab system of Medina Munawwara, and he would participate in its development. Oftentimes it's said that the Kuttab children used to go with him to the border of Medina when he would travel, and they would wait and camp out and receive him outside of the city so that they could be part of his entourage when he entered back in. And he was the one who set Friday as a day off for them. It said that they found their schedule to be quite onerous, and so they requested a second day off. So he gave them Thursday as well. And it's narrated that he said that this is a system I'm setting, may it be this way until the day of judgment. And he made dua against anyone who would attempt to abandon or change it. So that Kutab system, kind of what we call maktab in the Indian subcontinent, it kind of spread throughout the whole world, and it was kind of the standard elementary education in the entire Muslim world, no matter for boys or girls, or for the students of knowledge, or people who are going to be farmers or tradespeople or whatever. Basic modicum of education. So Ibn Majah, who narrates this hadith, says that At-Tanafusi said an al-Muharibi, that this hadith should be taught to given in particular to the mu'addib, the teachers of small children in the Kuttab. The mu'addib is kind of like the first teacher. He's the one who gives ta'deeb. He's the one who teaches and also teaches you how to learn. Ta'deeb, one of the meanings of it is also to give corporal punishment to somebody. So the mu'addib is the one who deals with the children and kind of sets them straight. And so Ibn Majah narrates the hadith with his strong chain of narration, and the wording of the hadith that we attempted to read was from his narration. Abu Dawud also brings the same chain of narration, which is a sahih chain of narration. The comments here are, the rest of the comments are by Maulana Anwar Shah Kashmiri rahimahullah ta'ala. He said that the sanad is sahih for the rest of them, and it connects to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam through the companion Abu Umamat al-Bahili. Then he said that it's very similar in its meaning, although there's a particular part of it with regards to the way that the time will change during the coming of the Dajjal, which is slightly different. And then furthermore, he adds that Hakim narrated this hadith in his Mustadrak, and he said that it's authentic according to the standard of Sahih Muslim. And Dhahabi, who was by no means blindly charitable to Hakim in his hadith ratings, concurred with his rating in this particular case. And also Hafiz bin Hajar quotes parts of this hadith in his Fathul Bari and considers it to be either Sahih or Hasan, to either be Sahih or Hasan, to be authentic or to be good. So my general practice on these Fridays that happen within the holidays, that I know school kids will be there that are not there, I usually try to tailor the message in particular for them, knowing that they're not going to get a chance to be in the masjid space and hear these things later on. And sometimes I go over a little bit. And so I went over time by about 10 minutes or so. And part of that 10 minutes was also that somebody prayed their sunnahs right in front of the mihrab where the mic and all those things were. And so I waited for him to get done, and then he got up and read another 2 rak'ahs after he finished without any break. And I didn't say anything. I still didn't say anything, because akhlaq and stuff, so I just whatever. And so that also ate some time from the front end of the bayan. And so what ended up happening is, some time over the mark, around 10 minutes or so over. And basically we were almost done. We had just a couple of sentences left in the hadith to read. A couple of people made a really loud din and noise in the masjid that you've gone over and we have to go to work, and that's it. And so, okay, that's the regular schedule. Those of you who know me know that I generally end my khutbahs, I'll say 80% of the time within 60 seconds, either before or after whatever the target time is. I'm usually very diligent and religious about it. One of the exceptions I make is for something like this. And it caused a commotion in the masjid. Most of the people were kind of kind of off-put. Why is this happening? And I guess one of our brothers, I think he's an Uzbek brother, God bless him, he basically told him, hey, you can't do this. You can't interrupt the imam like that. If he's going over a little bit, let him go over. But at that point, because the disruption is it's very unbecoming of the masjid space. And to be very frank with you, I was shocked. I wouldn't think that somebody would do this. I just said, okay, that's fine. Stop arguing with one another. That's fine. Just call the adhan. I just sat in the minbar. They called the adhan. I gave a very short khutbah in Arabic, and I read extremely short, basically the shortest surah is the Quran for the salat, and I was done. Now, this is what I want to say now that it's done. And I was upset, but because of the sacredness of the masjid space, I'm not going to take it out within the masjid space. Rather, I felt like Jumu'ah was like a flight, and so there's some issue with some mechanical issue in the plane, so we just landed it at the nearest airport, and then we'll deal with the mechanical issue later. So I went outside. I said, whoever has something to say to me, about this, let's talk about it outside afterward. And whoever it was, they ducked out, and no one talked to me about anything. Even though they were hemmed in the parking lot, they just kind of snuck in their cars and just avoided the whole thing afterward. But here's what I have to say about this, which is that, look, one of the very frustrating things about doing this work as an imam is, if you want somebody who's going to be a paper pusher or a greeter at Walmart, don't expect them to tell you what's of benefit or give you any sort of advice with wisdom. They'll recite the Quran nicely, some of them even speak feel good messages, but don't expect much more than that. It's not going to really take you or your kids or your community much further than that. The second thing is that there is literally, and I've been on the receiving end of this from masjid boards, this idea that somehow the imam is supposed to be someone who gives customer service like some kind of Walmart greeter. If you do that, the issue is that some of the matters in the deen have to do with, as was the case in the hadith we were discussing today, some very grave and difficult issues that require a person to gather their courage and to have resolve. And even to talk about those things, if you cannot talk about them in a serious manner, if someone is going to say, look, I have a boss that's going to fire me for being 10 minutes late from my work, which, again, it's not like a normal happening. There are specific occasions on which it's called for. So we go over a little bit. If you're economically in such a horrible situation that you're going to really have so much trouble on Jumu'ah, even though the Sharia, to my knowledge, demands that a person should be there from the time that the salat comes in until the time that the salam is done from the salat. There's no real Shari'i cap on how long it goes. There's a preference that the khutbah should be short, but there's also a preference for someone to come to the masjid 5 times a day. Nobody does that either, right? So certain things have to be discussed and talked about. If you can't do that, just chalk it up to your own inability. Chalk it up to your own, like a sick person. A sick person cannot, make it to the masjid. They'll die or whatever. Go pray at home, inshallah. Go somewhere else, pray somewhere else. Go do something. If you have a problem because of your hourly wage earning ability, that you're going to be put out on the street, just get up and leave. It's not so horrible. I understand. I get it. People are gonna be like, well, make the deen easy for people. Well, there's more people than just one person who has like so little adab that they'll get up and yell and scream in the masjid. What about those kids that will not yell and scream in the masjid, but nobody caters to them? Nobody even brings them, even though it's still wajib for them to come to the masjid. And they have to know something about the deen lest they be left high and dry in the face of ever-increasing fitan like we see in front of us, many of which were actually talked about in the hadith we were reading today. What about people who are new to Islam? What about those people who don't, for whatever reason, never had anyone to teach them? And I'll say this, maybe people will say, oh, this is brash of you. I'm not, look at me, I'm upset still, yes, but I'm not like angry, like my veins are not popping out or whatever. They weren't then. I was in control of myself then. I'm still in control of myself. Right? What about those people gives you priority to be served in the masjid over them? People should think about these things. This happens. This used to happen when I was imam in different places. Someone would come and say, can you say something in Urdu? Because I don't understand English. What would I tell them? I was like, look, there are so many books in Urdu about Islam. There's so many large works of Arabic that are translated. Go read them. You can go on YouTube and see the tahqiqat of Mufti Palanpuri, Mufti Taqi, of all the great scholars of the Indian subcontinent. If you don't follow them, the ones that you follow, all of them, there's. You can read the whole Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Tirmidhi through YouTube with all of the material that's available for your language. People have said, Ya akhi, speak in Arabic because we only understand Arabic and the khutbah should be in Arabic. I say, I'm with you that the khutbah should be in Arabic. The issue is this, that the talk is there for the community, and most of the community doesn't speak English. Even the Arabic speakers don't speak classical Arabic or don't understand it properly. So as much as I sympathize with you, you have resources available to you. Other people don't have resources available to them. And they're also the majority of the people. And this happened to be a day that the most vulnerable spiritually of them were there in the masjid, and somebody completely made a crap show out of the entire thing. And I'll be very frank with you. I'll be honest with you. Like if you are so attenuated to the hourly wage you're making, that you're willing to cause a disruption in the masjid, you're willing to humiliate and disgrace the imam, you're willing to cut off the transmission of those fard ayn, like aqaid, basically, that were talked about in the khutbah, that all of the kids, even my own kids, said, Baba, we never heard this hadith before. And I forced them to come to Riyadh al-Salihin, I forced them to come to my khutbahat and talks and things like that. They know a lot more than most kids do, alhamdulillah. I mean, they're not walking around like some Ghazali or Razi or whatever, but at the same time, they do know a lot more than the average American Muslim kid does. If that's the case, then keep your mouth shut, get up and leave. If you're that much of a miskeen, Allah will forgive you. Don't open your mouth, keep your mouth closed. Those people are probably not even going to hear this or listen to it. God knows if that guy is even going to come next week, because I think he realized he did something wrong somewhere along the line after having opened his mouth shamelessly for some amount of time. But then when it was done, I think people realized what was going on. The other request I have is for the rest of the people in the masjid. They're like, why are you yelling at us? We didn't say anything. Right? The reason that we should discuss this, you and me, is that there needs to be some sort of order in the masjid. And that order exists in the Muslim world. If someone does something like this in an Arab country, they're escorted out, or something happens that causes them to stop. If someone does something like this in the Indian subcontinent, they will probably not leave the compound uninjured. And the injury they get is very richly deserved. It's one thing if the imam is getting up and like licking the boot of the leader or saying something that is completely unacceptable. But when someone is just reading the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ with an unbroken chain, Allah Ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tarfa'u aswatakum fawqa sawta an-nabi wa la tajharu lahu ka jahri ba'dikum li ba'din an tahbata a'malukum wa antum la tash'urun. O you who believe, don't raise your voice over the voice of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and don't blurt things out loud like you would over him, like you would blurt things out loud with some of you to others, lest you have all of your deeds invalidated and you're not even aware. The invalidation of all deeds is the punishment for what? It's the punishment of kufr. It's as if this is a tashbih of kufr for a person to have that little adab with the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just get up and leave. Just get up and leave. Pray your dhuhr. And if it really was my bad, it will be on your head, or it will be on my head, the sin of it. But the issue is what? Is that, and it's not, I don't even blame them 100%. It's we as a community have a system such that the masjid is kind of like this wild free-for-all space. People who have no babysitter let their kids run wild in the masjid. People who want to say anything, say whatever it is that they want to say in the masjid. People say, I should lead the khutbah, I should lead the salat, I should do this, I should do that, I should do the other thing. Because it's become a joke, there's no respect for it. Someone might say, well, you shouldn't lead it anyway. I said, okay, fine. Find somebody that should and let them speak. But this kind of chaotic system in the masjid, this is really bad. This is going to prevent us from being able to benefit anything. The hadith regarding the end times and the malahim and things like that, I don't know if anybody noticed, there's a creepy amount of things that are mentioned in that hadith that are basically happening right in front of our eyes. And I mean, not that it was mentioned in this particular hadith, but the athar, it's narrated that the Dajjal won't come until people stop mentioning him on the manabir. Now, it's known from the context of the hadith. Some people will know this knowledge, but the general public won't know it. I can see nothing more concerning than what? Then those things are being spoken about. They're being discussed in our own people, not because of government compulsion, not because of foreign bombing, not because of colonialism, not because of communism, not because of anything else. Except for their own lack of order and decorum, they interrupt these things. But not only should you not interrupt it, you should also take the initiative to be like, shut that person up, pull them to the side. We as a community, this should not be acceptable to us. It shouldn't be acceptable for us. And someone who wants to say akhlaq and wisdom and unmasked and this and that and the other thing, but there's a limit to how much hikmah you can use when making da'wah to other people. If your hikmah is such that you obstruct the very goal that you're trying to fulfill, which is in this case the conveyance of fard ayn, knowledge of Aqidah, then I think someone has lost a plot somewhere along the way. And so inshallah, the hadith itself, if someone wants to hear it or whatever, maybe we can take some time to read it again. But I just wanted to say this thing. It really kind of demotivated me. It kind of makes me feel like, I don't know, like if other people want to waste their time, وَدُّوا لَوْ تُدْهِنُوا فَيُدْهِنُونَ, like why should I also waste my time? I have other things to do as well. I'll just go to Jumu'ah khutbah and fulfill my fard and go. But the only thing is, this morning someone was telling me about some problem of theirs that they were having and that they wanted to give up, and so I gave them the targhib that you shouldn't give up. Allah Ta'ala says in his book, he says regarding the companions radiallahu anhum at the battle of Uhud, he says وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إلا رسول قد خلت من قبله الرسل أفإن مات أو قتل انقلبتم على أعقابكم ومن ينقلب على عقبيه فلن يضر الله شيئا وسيجزي الله الشاكرين. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Allah Ta'ala said it, not me. He said Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is not but a messenger. If he were to die or be killed, would you turn on your heels and flee? Whoever turns on their heels and flees, it doesn't harm Allah Ta'ala in the least. But if you are thankful, meaning if you stand firm and keep going, Allah Ta'ala will reward the people who are thankful. So now we said it, so inshallah we keep struggling to do what's better, if it's at this place or at some other place or whatever, through some other means or whatever. So fine, that's fine. I don't want to give up, even though it is frustrating at times. But I thought I'd take this opportunity to share with people that this is not cool as long as we keep doing it. We do it to ourselves. We like to think that there's some sort of Superman, Zionist conspiracy, colonizer, New World Order, Freemason, Illuminati, invincible type thing against us. But the simplest things, we do it to ourselves. If we can kind of close ranks with one another and just make it clear that this type of behavior is not okay in our places of worship, that there should be some sort of decorum, there should be some sort of respect shown. There should be some sort of adab shown and taught. Again, ta'dib, one of the meanings of ta'dib is corporal punishment. And so I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything illegal, but there should be some zajar when somebody does something that's socially unacceptable within the masjid space. People should tell them, hey, look, that's not cool. And I don't mind, if something happens, it's an accident or whatever, people forgive each other and move on. I don't mind people bring their kids and kid yelled out and screamed one time or whatever, and the father had to talk with him and made it clear that that's not okay. I don't mind that. At the end of the day, someone has to learn adab somehow, and mistakes will be made along the way. But when people are so brazen, so flagrant, that they just don't care, they don't learn anything. When people bring their kids and they don't even pay attention to them, they don't bother teaching them anything. They just let them run roughshod and ruin everybody's prayer. When people blurt things out and blurt out their opinions and interrupt and cut off and raise a din and cry for their own whatever makes them happy or their own concerns while not caring about anybody else's, that's not cool. That's not okay. And such people, it would be better for them, to be honest with you, if they find themselves in such a situation, just to get up and leave. And if truly the other party is at fault, then the sin will be on their head. And if you're at fault, at least you decrease your sin by not ruining it for everybody else. You ruin it for yourself, it's bad enough. You can always make tawbah and read dhuhr later and make tawbah later and then come back and try again tomorrow. But to ruin it for everybody, that's not okay. That's not cool. It's a waste of time. I'm not really into pious time wasting. I already kind of been there, done that with enough of my life. I've become old now. My beard hair has become white. I'm not really interested in any of that. And, I don't know if you guys can tell or not, the ummah has a lot of big problems that we should be dealing with. And this is, not necessarily one of them. If we can close ranks and take care of it. Otherwise, we're going to be like the fish that swims around the bowl. No long-term memory, just every lesson we have to learn it anew again and again and again, and I'm not there for it, and it's not what the deen teaches, and it's not good akhlaq, it's just stupidity. Allah Ta'ala give us hidayah, all of us, starting with myself. I make dua, and then for everybody else. Wa sallallahu tabarak wa ta'ala wa sallama ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.